speakers, and it is limited to topics concerning the management and operations of the school district. It shall be out of order for any citizen to attack verbally an employee of the school district in a public meeting. For purposes of public comment, an employee does not include the superintendent or any member of the DeKalb Board of Education. The board will not allow abusive language, threats, jeers, comments, applause, or shorts from the floor. In the event that happens, we will ask the disruptive person to leave the meeting room. Also, the board is here to listen to input. This meeting is not the forum for the board to respond to only comments given that the board would have not had time to consider and deliberate regarding the comments presented here. In addition, please, once at the podium, acknowledge that you are speaking on an individual basis or as a group. If it's a group, only one group is allowed to speak. Multiple individuals are allowed to speak. Clear enough? All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. This evening I will call 5 speakers at a time, and if you would line up accordingly. Mr. David Shutton, Mary Lindsay Lewis, Ruth Prim, Lorene Booker Brown, Oliver Kushner. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Olivia Kushner.
Johnson, Mr. Thurman, other members of the board. I want to start out by saying thank you to the organizers of the Druid Hills Charter Cluster for starting a valuable and important discussion on meeting the educational needs of the students in DeKalb. I'm not opposed to charter schools. However, the petition clearly misses the mark in many areas. The voting was problematic, held for only 4 hours at a location not easily accessible to public transportation. When you factor in the potential number of voters, the voter turnout was about 16%. Although 80% of the student population was minority, I observed the voting for 90 minutes and saw that over 90% of the voters were white. While only 18% of the student population is white, 57% of the board is white. All 3 minority members of the board live outside of the cluster attendance area, including one who lives in Gwinnett. And I ask, it is appropriate for a resident of Gwinnett County to control DeKalb County taxpayer dollars. It is obvious that the organizers did not successfully engage the significant minority population. The voting was held right after school started. That was not enough time to notify people. The fact that the petition was available on the website only 3 weeks prior to the vote did not leave most people time to read, let alone study the petition and its waivers. These are just the waivers of state board and DeKalb board policies. This is in addition to the 54 Title 20 waivers of state law. Every time I read the petition, I have more questions. There is a clear disconnect between the petition's narrative and some of the waivers requested. In many places, the narrative states statutes and policies will be followed, but then request waivers of those same policies. Examples are remedial and alternative education, class size, and the disposal of school buildings. It leaves in my mind who is going to own the vacant buildings, the significant value of the vacant buildings. It is also clear that the petition was written from a template by someone who does not live in or understand the diverse communities in the cluster. I live in the McClendon attendance area. I did not see people in my neighborhood voting in great numbers. Not one of the board members questioned the reference to collective bargaining in the petition. That's truly bizarre. I wonder if all 7 board members have really thoroughly understand and read the petition and understand the impact of the waivers. Many people have asked me why I have concerns about this petition. I in turn ask them if they have read the petition and understand the waivers. 90% say no. The devil is in the details. The proof is in the pudding. The ingredients of the pudding, the details, in many cases are questionable, vague, conflicting or contradictory or missing. It's questionable how this pudding is going to turn out. And I've given Dr. Thompson 2 letters with questions. We have a myriad of questions about this petition that I hope you'll take into consideration when you consider it.
Thank you, Mr. Shutton.
My name is Mary Lindsay Lewis. Thank you for letting me express my opinion. I'm a DeKalb taxpayer living in the Druid Hills Charter Cluster area, and I have deep concerns about this charter. The shallow understanding of the complexities of public education shown in this proposal is stunning. First, I have questions about the charter board. These men and women will oversee tens of millions of taxpayer dollars. Their names were at the bottom of a long list of appendices beneath the actual charter on the cluster website. Did people voting on the charter know that they were voting a board into office at the same time? Second, I am troubled by the number of requested waivers and duties being transferred from the elected board to the charter board. Many are egregious, and I ask you to closely scrutinize them. Third, this cluster includes approximately 5,000 students and 400 instructional staff. The number of actual votes in favor of sending this charter to you was around 1,000. I believe that the majority of the support for this came from the inner circles at each of these schools. For a charter to be successful, it needs to have widespread support from the entire school community, not just the leadership. I am concerned that so many people were left out of the voting process and that others had 2 and 3 votes. Parents, teachers, and administrators are important, but a school community is larger than that. The majority of the support staff at the schools had no vote. Is a bookkeeper not important enough to merit a vote? Parents who worked during the 4 hours of voting were left out. Taxpayers were left out. The population of this district is diverse, but on voting day, diversity was absent. And finally, I am concerned that the voices of teachers have been silenced. They voted by secret ballot, but have no public voice, not when their jobs are on the line and their livelihood depends upon a new employer, the charter many disagree with. The data on the cluster website indicates a lack of teacher support. An Agnes Scott student prepared a graph showing that data in visual form. I submit that for your attention. I urge you to reject this charter and direct your energies to providing educational resources for all of the 99,000 students in DeKalb County schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis.
Hello, I am Ruth Prim. I am speaking regarding the Druid Hills proposed charter cluster. I have been a resident of DeKalb County for 34 years. Both of my children received excellent educations in DeKalb County High School and are now very successful young adults. My husband is a 1968 graduate of Druid Hills High School, and his parents served as PTA presidents during the desegregation of Druid Hills High School in the early 70s. I had too, like the previous speakers, have examined this proposed charter, and it is just simply not who we are. We are a diverse county. I believe it to be one of our greatest gifts. We have scientists from all over the world coming to work at the Centers for Disease Control in DeKalb County. We are a special place for refugee settlements, for folks from all over the world come here to get a good start. One of the hallmarks of the United States, one of the special things we do is that we provide quality public education for all. And this charter just simply does not seem to be about that. Now, let me stress that I think that charter schools are a good thing. Both of my children graduated from a charter high school in DeKalb County. I served on the governing board, and I think that charters promote good parent participation. A good charter allows parents to take part of their children's education and bring their own gifts to the process. I have also had the honor of serving on the DeKalb County Council of PTAs since 2006, and I'm presently the county's recording secretary. And through this work, I've seen the wealth of the county working together. And it's in my judgment, you've heard just what the folks just said, 16% participation in a community is not complete participation. This is about what it's estimated that the number of eligible participants that voted to accept this charter, about the number that was there. It wasn't the 90% as claimed by the proponents. For these reasons, I ask that this board to reject this charter. Again, I said I think that charter clusters are a good idea. I like vertical alignment. That's how we work in the DeKalb County Council of PTAs. I think we need strong communities in our clusters. But I would ask that this group go back, dump the boilerplate cluster charter that they have, and create one that fits our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Prim.
Good evening. My name is Orvia Cushney. I'm here with my husband, Donovan Cushney, and our family, and we're speaking on behalf of our son, Louis Cushney, and all the other students with disabilities within the charter cluster. Our community is very small as far as the school system. We're about 10%. However, within the 6 schools in the charter, we represent almost half the population. We are in significant amounts there. There are a number of programs, special education programs, housed at each and every single one of these schools. Our family is here this evening to share with you our concerns, our grave concerns about those programs, about our son's inclusion in those programs. He is there on a regional transfer not because of his grades, but because of his needs. The cluster proposal does not allow for the inclusion or the continuance of those programs. So basically they're planning on setting up a separate special education program, separate programs, duplicating what's already there and taxing the dollars. District dollars would have to be split with them. So therefore, my son and the other children with special needs would get reduced services, reduced supports, because the money would have to be split. Their programs will also be dislocated and disrupted since he's already been moved out of his school because of his needs. He certainly would be one of those students who would be the district would be invited to his IEP to discuss placement. Every single one of those students in that cluster who are in there are there on a transfer because their needs could not be met at their respective home schools. So that greatly disturbed us. We are asking you to decline, reject this proposal, and send it back to the drawing board. It needs work to include all the students that are there. And we stress this important because we know other proposals are coming down the pike, and how we set up this model will be the prototype for what's coming down the pike. And we want to make sure that all of our students, special needs, and everyone else is included in these school choice opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kushner. Mrs. Brown? Yeah. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Booker Brown. It has been some time since I've graced this board and this new board, not at all. Let me first say that my greatest concern and why I'm here today is because of the issue of nepotism. People are dying because of the ramifications of nepotism in this system. And that is something that needs to change. Nepotism causes stress. There's so many different things that occur through nepotism. It's not enough that people receive a job because of who they knew, but it gets deeper than that, because when you have people that are in leadership positions and they receive those positions not because they were necessarily the most qualified, but because of who they knew, what happens is that people have a sense of entitlement, and that entitlement allows them to threaten, it allows them to harass, it allows employees to not be in a positive work environment. People should be coming to work so that they can live, not living so they can make it through a day of work. And I have recommendations. Mr. Thurman sent you an email today. I'd very much like an opportunity to sit down and meet with you, as well as Ms. Ward Smith and potentially Mr. Ramsey as well, to share the ideas and recommendations that I have to deal with this, because it's not okay to say I'm only one person, so I can't deal with this. People are dying. I know of 4 heart attacks and deaths. You had someone that died right here. It's not acceptable. The other thing that I wanted to share with you as this new board is that I was very disappointed that the first order of business for you was to approve the budget items that was presented to you. I feel very strongly as a professional that had you taken the time and stepped back and waited until you had greater knowledge about what was happening within the system would have provided more confidence to the constituents of this board and the school system. So I fought very hard to get the former board removed. I was probably one of the first people in the county that was active in pursuing that. But it was a very, very sad day for me to come here and to see that, or to hear that you approved the budget items prior to ever really spending time and learning your job. So it's very discouraging. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Mrs. Brown. All right, Mr. Lewis Kushner, Mr. Matthew Lewis, Kathleen Mathers, Robert Thorpe, Scott Bonder.
My name is Louis Cushney. I am 9 years old. I am in general education classes. I am in the discovery program. I get all A's, E's, and S's. My ITBS, COCAT, and other test scores are always high. As Kittredge Magnet Rules website says, I possess the intellectual potential and aptitude to achieve in any academic environment. While my disability does not influence who I am, my functional ability, according to Kittredge again, and special needs influences where I attend school. I have been placed in the ortho impairment program at Laurel Ridge Elementary. Like many other students with disabilities attending one of the cluster schools, I am there for a reason. I do not get a pass because I would like to, want to, or try to. The Druid Hills Cluster Charter should not get a pass either. Please protect my right to opportunity, access, and inclusion equal to my non-disabled classmates. A good education plays a major role in everyone's future. I, Louis Cushing, have a place in the future. My outcome and future role in society depends on what you do now. On behalf of students with disabilities, just like me, thank you for making sure the Druid Hills Cluster Charter is fair and equal to everyone.
Thank you, Lewis. You did a magnificent job.
I think we should applaud that. Superintendent Thurman, members of the board, I'm Matt Lewis. I'm here as an individual and as a parent of 2 children, both of whom attended DeKalb County schools from first grade to present. One is a junior in college now, the other a junior at Druid Hills High School. I am the immediate past president of the Druid Hills High School Council. I'm here today to talk about a community of 7 schools, a community that puts aside years of bickering over attendance lines and preferential school treatment and works together for a common goal, a community that respects and values its diversity, invites participation, and balances viewpoints with a practical insistence on putting teachers and students first, a community that recognizes principals and teachers need to be free to teach and to lead and to decide and to act at the schoolhouse level if we expect results at the desktop level. A community that understands the needs for parents to be involved and is willing to help, to teach, to model, and to mentor that involvement for all schools and all parents, and to create advocates for students who have not had advocates in the past. A community that sees a transparent understanding of individual school finances as a central element of trust among its constituents. A community that recognizes education as a continuous journey from kindergarten through high school and beyond, and that it should be seen, planned for, measured, and delivered as such a journey, rather than simply a collection of grouped grade levels. A community that, rather than demanding someone else act, steps up and says, we will act. We will foster. We will share in the responsibility for the education of all our children. Hold us accountable. A community that willingly and structurally binds the fate of each individual child to the other in a covenant for mutual achievement that ensures one school cannot succeed without the other. Ladies and gentlemen, the Druid Hills Charter Cluster is that community. The charter petition is our declaration. I respectfully ask that you sign it.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Superintendent Thurman and members of the board, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Kathleen Mathers. I'm here as an individual resident of DeKalb County, a taxpayer, and I will be a member of the governing board of the Druid Hills Charter Cluster should the charter be granted. I've been a part of the cluster community for 20 years, personally or professionally, having started my career in education as a teacher at Avondale Elementary. Since my 8-year tenure in DeKalb schools, I've worked in the nonprofit education world, as well as for the Department of Education and more recently for the Governor's Office of Student Achievement. I've worked extensively on curriculum, instruction, assessment, research, policy, and I've also dabbled a little bit in school accountability. But I'd like to focus my comments on this charter cluster's impact on teaching and learning. First, I'd like to share with you what objective research tells us about charters in general. They're more likely to use their flexibility to adopt and sustain best practices. They often make college prep and advanced placement programs more accessible to minority and low-income students than traditional public schools. They're more likely to adopt promising practices, such as using technology in the classroom, offering new staff development programs, involving teachers in policy making, and pursuing efforts to boost parent involvement. They're more likely to embrace academic reforms as an integral part of the school mission and not merely as an add-on. And they're more likely to target instructional practices to their specific student populations. Finally, they're more likely than other public schools to be responsive to family preferences and needs. And this is important because research also tells us that when parents are involved in the decision-making and the governance of their children's schools, their self-efficacy and comfort level in participating in their child's education increases, as well as student achievement. So how does this apply to the proposed cluster, and how will it affect students, teachers, and administrators? The flexibility that you grant to the cluster through the charter will result in an innovative instructional pathways, IB, Montessori, and STEAM, with choice enrollment available to all students in the cluster and remaining capacity available for students who live outside the cluster. Teachers who know their students far better than central office administrators will be empowered to make curriculum, instruction, and assessment decisions that are targeted to the specific needs of their students. Vertical planning that will take place among elementary, middle, and high school teachers will create a seamless K-12 instructional pipeline for students, and the accountability metrics for the cluster as a whole will tie the success of one school to the success of all the others, thereby incentivizing collaboration across school communities, and teacher morale will improve thanks to increased decision-making opportunities, lower class sizes, elimination of furlough, and a return to annual increases. Please take this opportunity to lead and vote yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Mathers.
My name is Scott Bonder. I'm a parent of a third grader and a fifth grader in what would be the cluster lines, and I want to address just two fundamental points. First, there's been a lot of conversation about waivers. Waivers in this context do not carry a negative implication. They are, in fact, contemplated by the statute that gives rise to the possibility of a charter conversion itself. They are necessary to change statutes that otherwise would apply to the Board of Education to make them apply to the cluster and to give the cluster the ability to govern. Waivers are common. In fact, this school board itself has requested and obtained a waiver for class size for all grades, K through 12, and many, many others. There is no negative context to waivers in and of themselves. Please look at the petition itself and look at the law and determine for yourselves whether the waivers are appropriate, and do not rely on misinformation. In all cases, if granted a waiver, the cluster must still meet or exceed all state law requirements for education. Meet or exceed all state law requirements for all schools within the proposed cluster. The quality of education as a result of that can only, as a matter of law, get better. It cannot get worse, or the cluster will revert back to this Board of Education. Secondly, the vote you're going to take on this petition is governed by Georgia law. The question as framed by the General Assembly is weighted heavily in favor of approval because you are not the final say on whether the cluster can be approved. There will be more review after you. Your vote is only whether the petition is in the public interest, and public interest is extremely broadly defined. This is not a vote of whether you like charter schools, and it's not a vote of whether you think any group or organization does. We hope that you agree that tying diverse schools together in a community and relying on one another for overall success is a good idea, but you don't have to. You don't even need to believe that this cluster will ultimately succeed to determine that it is at this time in the public interest. As long as the proposed cluster will provide valuable information to this Board of Education on whether the charter school model makes sense for DeKalb County and what practices work and what don't, then it is in the public interest, and under the law generated by the General Assembly, you must vote yes. Please look at the law, look at the petition, and allow these cluster schools to excel in a way that they cannot individually, but that they will as a cluster. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonder.
Superintendent Thurman, board members, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you briefly about my thoughts on the Druid Hills Charter Cluster.
Give us your name, please, if you don't mind.
My name is Robert Thorpe, and I'm the most recent past principal at Druid Hills Middle School and a proposed governing board member. I'd like to speak to you on what I see as some important points about the proposed charter. I hope that you will accept my comments as not criticism of DeKalb's superintendent or its board members, but rather as a new and exciting way of creating a world-class school district. Firstly, consider instruction. I've seen several changes in instructional delivery in DeKalb County during my 8-year tenure that I believe underestimated the value of teachers to design challenging and relevant lessons for their students. The district has spent millions of dollars on programs such as Springboard, America's Choice, and most recently, Success for All, as ways of improving student success. However, I believe this approach, where the emphasis is on the program rather than the process, is a miscalculation. The proposed Druid Hills Charter Cluster has identified 3 processes, STEAM, IB, and Montessori, as ways of engaging students, empowering teachers with more control over how they teach the Common Core standards, and increasing student achievement levels. Additionally, the problem with emphasizing programs over processes is that it assumes that one size fits all. The attempt with the Druid Hills Charter Cluster is to offer several pathways to fit the Druid Hills community. As principal of Druid Hills Middle School, because of the requirements of each new program we initiated in the district, we struggle with implementing the IB MYP and its tenets with fidelity. In fact, in the second semester of last year, we lost our IB coordinator to Campbell Middle School in Cobb County. This personnel loss has negatively impacted the teachers at Druid Hills Middle School from the benefit of a full-time coordinator that facilitated the meshing of the Common Core with IB. I believe the Druid Hills Charter Cluster is the right change at the right time and can be a catalyst to other DeKalb communities considering this approach, and in the process return DeKalb County School District to its former prominence in the state and the nation. Thank you, and we appreciate your vote and your time.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Thorpe. Teresa Johnson Bennett, David Roberts, Alexander Hugh, Darrell Funn, and Becky Brickman.
Greetings, Mr. Thurman and members of the board. I'm speaking as an individual. My name is Teresa Johnson Bennett. I stand before you as a parent of a daughter being educated by my husband and I in the DeKalb County School District. Please imagine my heartbreak when I found out that SACS had placed our school district on probation. When I found out on the 28th of February from my school council president that my school was eligible to participate in a charter cluster, I saw a ray of hope, and I knew I had to get involved. I went to the very first meeting representing my school, Avondale Elementary. At the first meeting, all the parents there said the same thing. We want a better way to educate the kids of DeKalb County schools. We were a diverse group of parents wanting the same thing, a different way to educate. Each of us represented 7 different schools, but we knew each school and each child in DeKalb County had different needs and specific needs. We went to the second meeting. At the second meeting, I was elected as the secretary for the organization committee. As the secretary, all of our meetings were open. All of our minutes were posted online, and all of our meeting dates were published. We were there for any and everyone who wanted to find out about the DeKalb cluster. We answered questions from persons in the audience. We got comments, concerns, and anything else that a parent wanted to know or anybody wanted to know. We stayed late to answer questions to make sure everybody knew what was going on. We engaged in many meetings, community meetings. We asked everybody to sign up. With this committee, this binder at every meeting and community event, We circulated it. Anybody who wanted to work on a committee or to be the part of the committee, all they had to do was sign up. All I'm asking is that you review our petition. The petition is about educating kids and empowering parents so that they can have a voice, so that all students of DeKalb County can get a quality education. This petition is about educating kids. We want our kids educated in a different way. I'm asking each and every one of you to please, for my daughter and the kids of DeKalb County Schools, look favorably upon our petition, the Druid Hills Charter petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, Ms. Johnson Bennett.
Good evening, Superintendent Thurman and board members. My name is Alexander Fitzhugh, and this evening I am here to talk with you all about school uniformity. I am here as the PTSA president of Chapel Hill Middle School in DeKalb County, and last year our school council voted for us to be a school of uniformity. This year, when the school started, we have about a 98% rate of students who are in school uniformity. But unfortunately, we've had a few students, about 15 out of the 1,000 students, that have decided that they did not want to conform to school uniformity. Now, this was not based on income and students and parents able to purchase the uniforms, because what our principal did, Principal Phillips, and our community, we got input and donations where we were able to buy school uniforms for these students. These students, in talking with their parents said that they were going to give the choice to the students if they wanted to comply or not. So that the students would determine if they wanted to wear the uniforms. Based on that fact, what we found is that being out of uniform when all the other students are in uniform is causing a school disturbance. It's almost similar to a student running down the hallways, yelling and screaming. It's a school disturbance because everyone is looking at why doesn't this person have to wear it? Why they don't have to wear it? I spoke to one parent who asked me if she would need to hire an attorney because she didn't, about the school uniforms. And I asked her, I said, you want to spend $500 to $1,000 to retain an attorney when we have school uniforms, 5 for $50. Your child could be in uniform for $50. So what I'm asking this board is, the school council was given the mandate to make certain adjustments for the school. I just want to make sure that the board has the schools back, the parents back, and the principals back, so that when these students are out of compliance, there has to be some sort of consequence, the same as if you were bullying, the same as if you were if your attitude or if you were fighting. This is a school infraction. So what I want to make sure is that the board has the systems back and the students back and the principals back when it comes to how we handle and how we discipline the students in terms of being in uniform. When you look at a young man like who spoke, young Lewis, who has other issues and things, I think it's not too difficult to ask a student and a parent to just be in school uniform. It's not that difficult. So I just want the board to have the resolve to make sure that when parents call down, that you all let them know. Talk to your school council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzhugh.
Good evening, board. My name is Daryl Funn. I'm speaking as an individual, also as a parent of 2 children that are in DeKalb County Public Schools. One is a child who has autism. I'm speaking on behalf of Panola Elementary School. What I'd like to say is that, number one, I would love if there would be more encouragement of people just to get involved with the special needs program, because there's a lot that is needed. There are a lot of parents who don't have the ability to take a vested interest in what goes on in the special needs classroom, and then they end up getting put on like this island. And there are certain things that are needed. The class size at Panola Way is excellent. They have, 3 teachers that are actually taking care of everything there. But when you have more parent involvement, you tend to see how the children start to grow. And as they start to move on, especially when they're moving from elementary to middle school, there's so many things that are needed there just to show them how to move forward in life that a teacher can't necessarily teach. But if you have that parent involvement, that some parents know a little bit more than other parents do, and they can actually disseminate that information. One of the things that I'd also like to talk about is about the principal, Ethan Suber, who, since he's been there, has done a remarkable job in supporting the kids. Just one prime example, my son happened to be in the music room and he was playing the drums. And Mr. Suber saw this, and so what he decided to do was he said, let's, get a drum into the classroom just to kind of see what it would do. And it has helped his progression a whole lot. And it was just that care, that one moment that you saw that actually kind of made a difference. We found some other areas that we can kind of work on his educational skills. So in closing, I would just like to say, encourage the parents, encourage everyone in the community to get more involved in the special needs, because there's so much that is needed that I as a parent can't do alone, and other parents who can't necessarily come to the classroom every day can't do. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Fine.
Thank you very much. My name is David Roberts, and I'm a future board member for the Charter Cluster. I'm a parent of a 5.5-year-old and a 1-year-old residing in Avondale Elementary School Zone. My wife and I grew up in Florida, both raised in a public school system. Also, my mother's a retired public school elementary and special needs teacher. I deeply understand the importance of public education and impact on people's lives. The person I am today is a direct result of the public education I received growing up. My oldest son currently attends kindergarten at a private school. My wife and I had every intention to use public education for our son, but sought other options based on the historical performance of Avondale Elementary and accreditation issues with the county. We entered the lottery for the museum charter school and were waitlisted like hundreds of other families. The night of the museum school lottery was very emotional for all involved. A few kids were guaranteed a slot and hundreds were not. Emotions were evident in the faces and tears of parents, ranging from relief to jubilation, knowing that their child will have the opportunity to attend a high-performing school, to those of despair and anger, knowing that their child will not receive a slot. Over the years, the county school board has faced negative reports about educational performance, top-heavy administrative costs, and accreditation has been placed in jeopardy. Numerous parents, teachers, education specialists, and community activists have joined together to make a change and create the Druid Hills Cluster Charter. Significant thought, time, and effort have been devoted to help design this current petition. The petition's goal is to enhance principals and teachers in their agility to alter curriculum and delivery based on specific school and classroom needs, while reducing administrative and overhead costs, leaving more money in the classroom. The process has been transparent and followed established state and local guidelines. The museum school lottery was based solely on chance and luck of the draw. Chance and luck determined the future for hundreds of DeKalb County children that night. I don't want to depend on luck or chance for determining outcomes when we have the capability, the responsibility, and the authority to make positive change and influence outcomes. Hope and luck are not strategies. I applaud each of you for your efforts and your roles as county school board members and commitment to improving education. With your position comes significant amount of responsibility. But ladies and gentlemen of the board, you have the direct capability, responsibility, and authority to positively impact children's lives. Let's not leave this decision to chance or luck, but rather making informed decisions based on data and facts. Please accept the Charter Cluster petition.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Good evening. My name is Becky Brickman. I'm here as an individual speaking on behalf of myself. I'd like to talk about my personal experience with the Charter Cluster. I'm the mother of 2 daughters that attend Briar Vista Elementary. I'm also the current chair of the school council. I was also a member of the initial organizational committee to help write the petition. I started Briar Vista last year with my oldest daughter, who's now in 1st grade, and I have another daughter in pre-K. And last year was a very difficult year for our school. The budget was cut, We are a dual-track school, so we have Montessori and we have traditional methods of education. And with the budget cut at the beginning of the year, there was chaos. There was multiple shufflings around. The classes weren't settled for months. We lost all of our paraprofessionals on the Montessori side, so we were not able to be multi-age in the younger groups. Parents were distressed. The teacher morale was terrible. Once the petition started, the process to write this petition started, it was amazing to see us come together as a community. In the past, members of Briar Vista Elementary have come here before the board to help fight to preserve Briar Vista Elementary, to help keep us from having our families redistricted, to help preserve our programs, and we have been rivals with the other schools in what would now be our cluster. This process has brought us together as a community, a larger community, where parents have met each other from various schools. We've worked together for the interest of everyone's children and all of the schools to help work together to be more efficient and effective in providing education of varying methods to our children. Our teachers and a lot of our parents were directly involved with writing this petition. Many of our teachers have voiced their support. Parents have voiced their support. I personally am at Briar Vista almost every day, Monday through Friday, walking my children in, talking to the principal, talking to the teachers, talking to the parents about the excitement that surrounds the potential for us to become one large community where we no longer have to fight for our individual schools, but can work together to make everyone's child succeed. So I am asking that you take a good look at the petition and grant us the right to move forward with it so that we can get on with continuing to build this wonderful community that we have established. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mrs. Brickman. Mr. Lance Hammonds, Michelle Pincava, Mr. Jesse Cunningham, Mr. Phil Hudson, Michelle Moose.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lance Hammonds. I'm First Vice President of the DeKalb NAACP, and I want to thank the Chair, Superintendent, for giving us the opportunity to let you know how we think. And I'm representing our branch, and I'd like for our branch members that are here to please stand up so they can be recognized. Thank you. The DeKalb NAACP is here to talk about the Druid Hills Charter Clusters. In accordance with our mission statement, our first and most important objective is to make sure that the educational rights of the children in our community are protected. And we respect and encourage all parents to take an active role in ensuring that all the children are educated properly in our community. Our concern is that we do not believe that the recent petition was representative of the 61% Black and 7% Hispanic and other minorities and families that make up that cluster. We are concerned that a small, self-appointed group, knowingly or unknowingly, acted to deprive these families of their right to vote and decide how their children will be educated. We base this on the method and effectiveness of the notification. As you can see, it's a low turnout. The vote was also held at Druid Hills High School, which didn't allow all parents who wanted to vote to get there. It's at very inopportune times. The petition of Druid Hills Charter Cluster, the vote was also counted in secret and in a non-verifiable method. We also want to note that DeKalb County School District was under a federal court order for many years to help it desegregate. Well, we feel that if this charter petition is not managed properly, what you could effectively do is resegregate our schools, and that is not what we want to happen. We want this process to be managed properly. And based on that, the DeKalb NAACP asked this board, who has the ultimate vote, and you can decide this measure on your own, that you deny this petition until you feel comfortable that everybody who's involved in this thing is representative. Now, we've been talking about involvement and letting everybody have an opportunity to be a part of this. The vote was not done that way. It's estimated only 1/5 of those people that were eligible to vote voted. And that's like taking one finger on a hand and saying we're all together. So please make a point. Please have the courage to deny this petition and send it back for revision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hammonds.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to read, if you don't mind, the whole thing. My name is Michelle Pincava. I have 2 children enrolled in district schools in Tucker, Georgia, right down the street. Thank you for being here, all of you. It is a long journey that brought us to this place, and none of us know what the ultimate conclusion will be or which of you will be here in just a few short months. I'm glad it is what it is for now, and I hope we can continue to make great progress. I hope many of you, if not all, will still be here in January and going forward. What we do know is that for our school system to move forward with great progress, we must be innovative. We must be open to considering all options that focus on improved academic achievement, even if there is a perceived loss of power. There's a lot of negative propaganda. So sorry that I'm making that noise. Spinning around the proposed Druid Hills Charter Cluster. It's unfortunate. Is it complex? Yes, as it must be. But it is innovative, it is inclusive, and it represents the ultimate in parental and community engagement. It focuses on empowerment at the schoolhouse level and supporting kids K through 12 with vertical alignment on multiple paths. All worthy goals. Though my children do not and would not attend the Druid Hill Cluster, I support their forward progress and commend their efforts to seek a solution that works for their community. Most important to remember is that a child's success at any of our schools across the district is a success for all of us. Please, if possible, block out the clatter and the chatter, find the time to work through the very many documents, which I know is daunting, meet and discuss with questions and concerns, think about the opportunities as well as the challenges with district collaboration. This type of forward thinking could propel the DeKalb school system to the top. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Ms. Pincava. Better known as Michelle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jay Cunningham, or Jesse J. Cunningham. I'm a former board member of the DeKalb County Board of Education. Since I've been on the board, it's become very clear that the education drives our economic development in DeKalb County. It is a shame that we see here today during the 50th anniversary of the speech on the march on to Washington with a contract being presented to the superintendent for recommendation to the board to start a charter school cluster. It's a startup program for a new school system in DeKalb County. This is wrong. The contract does not even support the 11 action plans that we're looking at from SACS at this particular time period, in my view. There's nothing unique about the contract as we look to charter school programs. If voted yes, what's to say that we will not have 17 other petitions here in front of us to start new charter school systems in DeKalb County, which means public schools won't exist because you're giving a right to a group of people to educate a cluster. They haven't been voted on by anybody in that cluster. They did a little, a formal vote, a real vote by law. And if you look and heard today, you're talking about a 61%, or I should say a 78% minority cluster. And they didn't even participate or have any say-so on the kids in that area. Have you thought about the conversion plan that already exists in the DeKalb County school system as we look at contracts? The conversion plan basically gives the right for waivers, but it also holds the school board and the superintendent accountable for what happens in that school. And yet people may say, well, you still have control because you're given you're given a 5-year term period. and you can take it back. But we're not even know who's going to be on this board in the future. So I'm in front of you today to ask you not to grant and move forward with this contract until you actually go back and look at different ways in order for this to be done. Yeah, I know some things need to be done differently in the DeKalb, and I accept that. Charter school do work, but this particular petition will not work. And I hope you will take time to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Michelle Moose. Phil Hudson is not present. You want to go? Is Mr. Hudson, Phil Hudson, present? We have 11 minutes. We will go to the alternates. Yvette Hall, Prince Harmon.
Good evening. My name is Yvette Norman Hall. Dr. Johnson, District 7 Representative, Dr. Joyce Morley, other board members, Ms. Rachel Ziegler, Region 5, our interim superintendent. I am the proud parent of 3 Columbia High School graduates. All attended college, and the youngest is a senior at Tennessee State University. I am a product of the DeKalb County school system, having graduated from Clarkson High School in 1972. I am a die-hard Columbia High School stakeholder. I bleed blue and orange. I am here tonight just to let you all know that we are happy and doing well at Columbia High School. We are a science, math, and technology magnet school. Our fierce leader is none other than Region 5 Principal of the Year, and just in the past few weeks, DeKalb County School District's Principal of the Year, none other than Miss Stephanie Ara Ramey. We are proud of our past, and we work hard every day towards an even brighter future. Our thanks goes out this evening to Mr. Gary Brantley and his team for making sure that CHS was equipped with over 400 new computers. We needed the update. It was for the benefit of our precious students. We are still waiting for some things to take place. We trust that Mr. Gary Brantley and his team will take care of these matters swiftly. I have listed the matters in the copy for you all. Our 2013-2014 motto at CHS is soaring to new heights. And you can see that when you pass our school on Columbia Drive. Along with the American flag flies our Columbia High School blue and orange flags. Mr. Thurman, all the Eagles are high-minded. We work all day and we don't mind it. We are striving so hard to provide students with vigorous instruction and varied experiences outside the classroom to ensure a quality education for all of our students. As we soar to new heights, we believe that excellence is worth the effort. Failure is not an option, and every day leads to our precious students graduating on time. That's because coming together for a better Columbia are parents, teachers, students, faculty, staff, and community. The best is yet to come. Whoa! That's what I like about Columbia.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Okay. This will be the last speaker this evening.
Mr. Superintendent, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to say thanks for providing the uniform for us at the Service Center. We really appreciate it. My reason of coming here today is During the layoff period, St. Maul Service Center get hit the hardest. We lost like 80% of people. And I'm speaking on behalf of the Heating and Air Department. We are, words can I explain? It's hectic in our department, all right? We have few mechanics working on these schools, and we have like some are retiring and some are quitting, all right? If anyone quit or they retire, post the position. I mean, we have some folks quit like 2-3 months ago. The position have not been posted. We need some helpers. I mean, I was inside the building and the lot of floor. There's nobody I could call on. If you check in the company, heating and air company and stuff, you have 2 mechanics riding the truck. I mean, I know the budget is high. You're trying to save, but it can be worse. Please, please, if somebody quit or retire, please, please post the position. I mean, we know time is hard. We're trying to save, but work with us and we'll work with you for the kids. All right? We're here for the kids, and you know what I'm saying? Let's do the best of it. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. On behalf of the board, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for coming out tonight. Your comments are very valuable to us, and we appreciate you, and we know that each of you, your interest is to improve the quality of education for all of our boys and girls, and we appreciate it. Please invite you to stay to the meeting at 7. In about 5 minutes, we will reassemble for the business meeting, if you will.